past is the past, you know? It's a new day, bro. My day. You gotta do it now.
Yes, that is the way to start it. Getting after it. Adam DeYoung with DeYoung Media. And I am really excited for our first episode of Getting After It, the mind, body, and soul of the entrepreneur. And I hope if you are an entrepreneur, you get a lot out of this series. We're going to do one once a week. And we're really excited this week to have the founder of Blog Joggers with us, Rachel Minahan. Rachel, thank you for joining us on Getting After It.
Hey, Adam, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Rachel, first of all, I guess we'll get this out of the way first because I just, in full disclosure, Rachel is my sister, but she does an amazing job with Blog Joggers and marketing for some various clients. So we're really happy to have you. Thank you very much for joining us. So I want to start by talking a little bit about what Blog Joggers is and how you kind of came up with this idea of Blog Joggers, because I think it's fantastic.
Always my biggest fan. I have been working for several years as a marketing consultant to small business owners. And one of the things that I noted that several of those people needed was really some inspiration for their blogs. They knew that they needed a blog and they would set it up and then it would just maybe one blog post, maybe three, but then it would fizzle out. They either didn't feel like they had time, or they didn't have the ideas, or they didn't have the motivation or the wherewithal to get it actually going to make it the tool that it needed to be so that they could achieve a following and then thereby grow their business. And just in seeing that time after time with several different clients, I realized what they needed was some accountability and also some push to get the blogs out there. And so I developed the product called Blog Joggers, and that's basically an email service that goes to clients based on their target market. So, for instance, if you were marketing to women ages 35 to 55, you'd sign up for a specific Blog Jogger, and each week that would mail you a list of questions that you could answer in the form of a blog post. And therefore, you can blog one time that week or 5 times that week, whatever fits your schedule, but you have automatic prompts for that week that are timely because they're based on current news and current things that your target market is interested in. They get delivered to you each Wednesday, and then you do your blog and wait for the next series to come out.
So with Blog Joggers, you've sort of kind of taken a different direction, and when you started out, you were doing more client-side stuff, like you were saying. What made you make that transition to Blog Joggers?
Really just seeing the need. I enjoyed working with the small business owners, but because they're small, their budgets are small as well. And so they would get started down a path, certain marketing path with me, and we'd talk about their website and what kind of tools that they needed and all. And that was all great, but then it wouldn't be super effective for them because they wouldn't follow through in the end. They couldn't afford to pay me to do it or somebody like me to do it because budgets are tight. So there was just really a need out there, and I started thinking about different ways to fill that, and Blog Joggers is the result.
I think it's fantastic. I actually use it in my day job. I write a ton of blogs for realtors and home buyers and sellers, and I've subscribed to your home buyers and sellers one, which is fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
And so I use it every week. The nice thing about it is you're right. I mean, I'm writing blogs like every day. That's part of my job. I'm a small business owner, but part of my small business is writing blogs, right? But to come up with a new blog every day and with content being so important is really challenging. But if you get those 3 questions, and it's not even just those 3 questions, because you'll give a topic and then you'll give maybe 4 or 5 questions after that. And I really think it's a phenomenal product. So I applaud the effort for sure. Yeah. So what do you find is the biggest challenge for a small business owner writing a blog? What have you heard from your clients that's one of their biggest challenges as far as writing a blog?
Well, the thing I hear the most is I don't have time. But when you dig a little deeper, it's not so much the time because, as you said, right, you write blogs regularly and it takes, 20 minutes maybe to bang out 200 words. So it's not so much about the time as making the commitment to doing it and then coming up with the ideas that's challenging for them.
So what do you recommend as far as frequency of blogging and length of blogs? Do you give sort of a gauge for that for people?
It depends on what your business is. I try and encourage everyone to blog at least once a week because I think that frequency refreshes the site and it helps with the search engine traffic and such. As you start to gain a following, then I think it's important to do it even more frequently if you can, because then you start to get that engagement factor going on. You get people talking back to you and you need to be more responsive to that, and you'll start to get some dialogue going as opposed to you just throwing out your posts every time.
Sure. So what has been your experience with, I think there's, marketers are sort of divided on this, whether commenting and that interaction on blogs is actually really important, or if it's just sort of an ego boost for the person writing the blog. What's your take on it?
You mean, should I value comments? Is that what you mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, sometimes people will use it as a metric, like, oh, I only got two comments this week. My blog post must have stunk. Whereas that's not always necessarily the truth. It's just more of kind of like, if I got 10 comments, I feel great about myself,
Right. Well, I think in terms of metrics, it's really more important to measure how frequently it was shared, passed along via the social channels and that kind of thing. In terms of sort of the more softer side of things, the ego boost mentality, I think that it's even more important that a discussion occurs, not that 15 people said, "Oh, great post." That's not, that's nice, but it's not really doing much in terms of generating buzz around your business. But what is more useful is when people start saying, "Oh, well, what do you think about this?" "Well, I don't agree." That back and forth really gets people remembering your business and the conversation that they had with you.
So you think it's really important then to look at a blog as sort of a social medium, as opposed to just I'm writing 200 words and putting it out there to people?
Well, I would say what it is a first step in making that social pact with your clientele. It's the starting point, the launching point for getting your ideas out there. And then hopefully as you disseminate that information through some of the social channels or through the comments and the discussion back and forth on the comments, then you start to have that social aspect going on. But I do think your blog is really just sort of a first step down that pathway.
Interesting. So I don't want to spend the whole time on blogging, although I think it is very important, but I did want to talk a little bit about you and your small business and sort of what challenges you've faced in starting it up, because, ideally we'll be talking to people that are just starting out and are interested. I don't think it's any surprise that I'm in my basement right now, so you can see, the junk that's behind me in my basement. It looks like you're at your house as well. So this business you run out of your house, and what kind of challenges have you run into with that, and what are the benefits of it as well?
Sure. I think in the grand scheme of things, I've been doing it for almost 10 years now. So I've gone through a lot of life change in doing it, and different phases of life have different challenges. When my kids were really young, it was trying to squeeze all the work into nap time and not earning enough to be able to afford daycare. Now the challenges are different. It's getting motivated around their schedules and that kind of thing. So there's definitely that aspect of it. I would say looking at the whole period of time in which I've been doing it, the biggest challenge is really that you get to a point where your every day is the same. When you go to a traditional 9-to-5 job, it's not that you don't carry that work home with you. You do. You think about it. As much as you might have a big project that looms and you are kind of drilling away at it over the weekend, that kind of thing. But there is that break. There is that Friday I leave work and I don't think about it again until Monday, sort of. When you start to work at home and you start to have your own business, the great thing is that you have the flexibility to blend that with your life, but it's constantly blended with your life. And so because you took off those 3 hours on Tuesday to go do something at school, well, now Saturday you're working again. And so it's just a continuous cycle of everything being blended together. There's no separation really, the way you might have in a traditional environment. So
did you do work from home or start your business out of your house rather than like say get an office space out of necessity, or was it a choice, sort of a choice that you made?
It was a little bit of both. Certainly, when I started my business, I didn't have the funds to go get an office space, but it was also that I started the business because I wanted to be home with the kids. So it was, a choice on that part.
Okay. Talk to me a little bit about how you have acquired over time, and I'm sure it's changed over the 10 years, but how you actually went about finding clients and getting clients to work with, because I know that's often a challenge, especially when you're just sort of working out of your house. You're not going out and meeting people. You're not, you might meet people online, but it's sort of a challenge. Talk to me about how that process evolved for you.
Yeah, well, I think one of the things that you just said there is one of the keys. It's getting yourself out of the house. For me, there were a lot of networking opportunities in this area, both in my town and then the city close by, Raleigh. So I was able to get out and meet with other business owners. And once you've done that, then you can step back and start connecting with them online and continuing the discussions that you've had from meetings face to face and that kind of thing. I also think taking it a step beyond just the general networking environment, and as you click with somebody, during a luncheon or a presentation or something, follow up with them and just say, I'd like to get to know more about your business. Can we sit down and just get to know each other? No pitch, no sale. Just let me find out what you're doing. You find out what I'm doing, and who knows? Maybe I've got a referral for you.
Right.
Maybe I don't. Maybe we'll just be friends. Maybe I can recommend the guy to design your logo. Who knows what's gonna come of it.
Sure.
But making that personal connection with people after a networking event is critical, I think. And eventually you get to the point where your business becomes based on referral. And, that's what we all like. Yeah.
That's the easy networking. So after you do those networking events, how then did you reconnect, so to speak, with those people online? I mean, did you friend them on Facebook, or did you join them on LinkedIn? How did you go about doing that?
I did all of the social networks. I did Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Pinterest wasn't a thing at the time. That's how fast it all changes. I would connect with them in all those ways. If I, for some reason, wasn't 100% sure about the person as a business owner or something, I might reserve the LinkedIn invitation, and I might just friend them on Facebook and do the Twitter and kind of get to know them a little bit better before I wanted to add them to my LinkedIn network. But by and large, most of the people I met were out there doing pretty solid businesses and were, excited about their businesses, were ethical, and I felt comfortable adding to my LinkedIn network as well.
So when you say you added them as friends on Facebook, you mean personal friends, or you have a business page that people can go to and like you on Facebook, or?
I have both. When I meet somebody in a networking event, I always add them as a personal friend.
Okay.
The more that they get to know me as a person, the more interested they are in me, and eventually they will migrate over to my business page, which I also have. Periodically, if I have gone to an event and spoken to somebody about the business or something, I might, after I friended them, then invite them to join my business page because they know about it already and, had that discussion. But I try not to inundate people with business right away. It's really, it's true what they say. It's all about the relationships and building those relationships.
Right. So here's the $1 million question on this whole thing is, how do you then go from, I met you at a networking event, I connected with you on Facebook, we shared stories about our business, and then to, hey, great, you want to be a client? How do you make that transition?
Well, I think there are some steps in between there. I think, continuing to provide them with some quality content is the first big step. So your newsletter and your blog and this type of podcast that you're doing here, all of those are great tools because it keeps you in front of them, not just as a person, but as a business owner. And it reminds them what you're out here doing, and it helps them to see your expertise over time. The more that you, in turn, follow their business and stay on top of what they're doing, the more you'll be able to determine what their need is at the time. So you might find that somebody that you've been out networking with starts asking questions about using images in their blog. well, that's a perfect opportunity for you to jump in.
Mm-hmm.
You've already sort of formed that relationship there. And you can say, you know what, Jane, I remember talking to you about this the other day at such and such an event. Why don't you try using X, Y, and Z? If you need help, let me know. And um,
Sure.
that right there might be a turning point for you. But if it's not, then you can also, push it a step further and say, let's get together for a cup of coffee, or let's get on the phone and I'll help you through this. And really, once you've done that a couple of times with somebody,
Right.
they'll start to turn to you for support.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. So you're sort of taking the long approach to it rather than make a quick buck, right? Which makes sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way the whole social marketing works.
Right.
I think.
Right.
I think if you try and force it too much, you might make the first sale, but you're probably not going to make the successive
Yeah,
ones.
sure.
You know
No,
what I mean?
absolutely. That completely makes sense. I mean, it's. I used to work in radio for like 10 years, and the salespeople always used to try and sell. You got to reach this goal. You got to and one of the sales guys I became really good friends with. He used to complain about it because he'd say, we're trying to go cut this deal with these people, and then when it doesn't work because we didn't do a real full marketing proposal for them, then they get upset and then we can't go back to them and sell them more stuff. So I think it's like sort of that whole thing where you have to develop that trust with them. So when you go to them with something and say, hey, I've got this great opportunity for you, they understand what, that you're looking out for their best interest. So.
Right.
All right, Rachel. Well, first of all, I thank you very much for this. I want to do one last thing, a lightning round. So you can just give me one or two word answers, or expound if you like. But I'm going to try and bang right through these. So let's start the clock. There's no clock. We're just going to do an imaginary clock. Favorite social network that you use for your business?
Oh, for business, I would say Facebook.
Facebook. Okay.
Although I spend a lot of personal time on Pinterest.
Yes, yes, I've noticed. All right, so you have $10,000 to grow your business. Where do you spend it?
Where would I spend $10,000? I think one of the things that I would invest in are images, professional images to be using with the marketing materials on my blog and on newsletters and that kind of thing, and to have a library of those to be able to give to my clients. Sure. That would be a big one. And then after that, I really think some operational support, somebody who can help me with the admin tasks and finances and that kind of thing.
Excellent. That was an unexpected answer, so that's why I like the lightning round. 3 words to describe running your own business.
Emotional roller coaster.
Oh, that is good news and bad news. All right, so if you had to start from scratch today, what would you do differently?
I think what I would do differently is that I would pay for help more readily. I think as a small business owner, you get in that mindset of having to cut corners all the time, and sometimes that's not the most productive way to go about something. You might be able to put together your own website, but it might actually cost you more to do it that way in the long run if you consider how much time you spend versus paying somebody. Yeah. So I think I would have been a little bit more aware of that and do a little bit more planning to make sure it was worth my while to do things myself.
I'm not sure I like this lightning round because I want to expound on that, but we'll move on. Because I think that's a really good point. Okay, where will your business be in 5 years, you think? Or where do you hope it'll be?
Well, I think, Blog Joggers, like you were talking about, sort of developed out of my consulting business. And so it's really in its infancy. And I expect that over the next 5 years, we'll add many more target markets for people to be able to select from.
Sure.
And then bring on some subject matter experts to support those target markets.
Cool. Sounds great. Sounds like the future is bright for Blog Joggers.
Let's hope. Keep reading it. I'll keep producing it.
Where can people find you online, Rachel? I know it's blogjoggers.com, but what about Twitter and Facebook?
On Twitter, I am Rachel @ppm.
Okay.
And for Facebook, it's Purple Phone PR.
Awesome.
Or Blog Joggers.